Avia International presents Aircraft Sheet Metal Riveting. These are the tools that we will be using for this session. And for this course, we will be using two kinds of rivet. We have the universal rivet and the countersunk rivet. First part of aircraft riveting is the layout. Our layout is always based on the reference provided to us for any repair that we're going to perform. Based on the reference, we're going to do a doubler flash patch repair. In aircraft sheet metal, remember, precision is a must. I would also say that it is necessary to mark the areas where you will install the rivets and properly indicate the type of rivet will be installed on these areas. We will install universal rivet on the inside and countersunk rivet outside. The distance between rivets are called pitch distance. As for reference, we will use 0.7 of an inch for our pitch distance. Gap tolerance commonly used in aircraft structural repair is 1/16 of an inch. Gap tolerance is also for the expansion of the aircraft body when in air, and also to avoid friction from metal to metal contact. Edge distance is the distance from the rivet to the edge of the metal. For this we will use 5/16 of an inch. Radius. It is well advised to smoothen all corners and edges of metals. As per reference, we will use 0.25 of an inch for our radius. Drilling is the next step after layout. The size of your drill bit must be 2,000 of an inch up to 4,000 of an inch bigger than the size of the rivet. So if we are to use a 1/8 rivet, we need a number 30 drill bit. And put glyco fasteners to holes to keep the two metals together. Now that we have drilled holes in the metal, it's time to remove the burrs from the holes. They can deform the joint by creating a bulge between the skins when the fasteners are installed into the holes. So for us to do that, we are going to need to use a deburring tool. So we have different types of deburring tool. First we have a rose bit. And here we have another type of rose bit, but this one just has less blades compared to the first one. And next we have our zero flute. As you can see, we have holes in this deburring tool. It's for the burrs to enter one hole and exit on the other. You can use the deburring tool either by hand or by the use of a pneumatic drill gun. But today, we're gonna use a pneumatic drill gun. Use the chuck key to tighten. And always make sure that you lock it in tight for safety. And now that we have set it up, let's do some deburring. Before we start, make sure that we get any covers out of the way. Okay, you see those coming out of the holes? Those are what we call burrs. That's what we need to remove for us to install the rivets without damages. What we have here is the flute type deburring tool. So the burrs will exit on this side of the hole as it enters from this side of the hole. Deburring tool set, holes in. Let's check it out. Let the deburring begin. And let's always make sure that the holes are smooth so we can proceed and install the rivets. And now that we have the holes in place and the burrs out of the way, let's measure the thickness of our metal with a grip gauge. A grip gauge uses 1/16 increments. So the thickness of our metal is 3/16. The length of rivet that we need is the total thickness of metal plus 1.5 multiplied to the diameter of the rivet to be used. Let's measure the length of our universal rivet with a grip gauge. A grip gauge has two sides for measuring two types of rivet head, and this is how you measure a universal rivet with a grip gauge. And this is how we measure a countersunk rivet with a grip gauge. Looks like the rivets that we have are too long. Now, Let's cut our rivets using a rivet cutter for the desired length that we need. And we have holes for 3/32, 1/8, 5/32, 3/16, and 1/4. And the thickness of our cutter itself is 2/16. Gauge is where we put the head of the rivet when we cut it. To use it, we need to twist the lock. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. And the size of each gauge is 1/32. The formula we need to cut the right length of rivet is right on the screen. Now, we just need to cut the required rivet length. And now, we have the perfect length that we need. Countersinking tool. First, we have here our micro stop, and inside the micro stop we have our countersinking bead. Twist the lock, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Twist here to make it deeper, and here to make it shallow. Now tighten the lock. Remember, it's called a micro stop because every turn is 1/1000 of an inch. And this is the pilot. It goes in the hole. You can change the countersinking bead to a specific size you need. For this one, I decided to use a quick release type of pneumatic gun. First, I will try to countersink with the test plate to make sure that I have the perfect nest for our countersunk rivet. First attempt was too deep. Let's adjust the micro stop. Second attempt. Our nest is not deep enough. Adjust the micro stop and try again. Remember that the nest can be 2,000 of an inch up to 4,000 of an inch more or less. And this is exactly the nest we need. Now that we have the perfect nest, let's apply it to our main plate. As you can see, our countersunk rivet sits perfectly on its nest. These are what we need to install the countersunk rivet. We have our flat set and its safety spring. This is how you put the set to its spring. And all rivet set goes to the rivet gun. So you just twist the safety spring to install it to the rivet gun. And we are also using a pneumatic rivet gun, meaning it's air powered. And of course, the bucking bar. This will help us drive the rivet. Now that we have everything in place, let's install the countersunk rivet. The length we need is 3/16 of an inch, based on the formula that we've shown you before. Total thickness of metal plus 1.5D. Rivet in place, and the length is perfect. Time to install. And take time to appreciate the perfect nest that you made. And I suggest to have a partner to buck for you. And before you start, make sure that you have 90-degree angle for the bucking bar and the rivet gun. Now, we just need to check both the head and the bucktail for any damages. And we also need to check the length and diameter of our bucktail. So the length we have is 1/16 of an inch. and diameter is 3/16. Countersunk rivet installed perfectly. And now, let's install our universal rivet. And these are the tools and equipment that we're gonna use to do that. We have our universal set. Sizes may vary depending on what size of universal rivet you have. And of course, our safety spring for our universal set. And that is not the way you install it. It's through here. Perfect. Equipment ready and universal rivet on its place. Let's install the universal rivet. Again, it is always best to have someone to buck for you, and make sure that you're at 90° for your bucking bar and your rivet gun. And also make sure that your universal rivet head rests properly on your rivet set, and then you can shoot. And always check the head and the bucktail for any damages or deformity. As per the measurements that we need, it's also the same with the countersunk rivet. So for the length, we need 1/16 of an inch, and on the diameter, we need 3/16. So again, it looks like we have installed another perfect rivet onto our metal. So that's the end of our course about aircraft sheet metal riveting. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.